a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, and welcome to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. It is Monday, January 6, 2025, and we're coming to you live from the Port Mall. Yes, the Port Mall here in Scarborough, Tobago. I am Adana Kumbi, and this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. What a wonderful day to be in the land of the living. This is the actual first working week of January 2025. Yes, I know we came back out to work last week, but this is the first official week in my books for 2025. And of course, we welcome you to join us as we carry you on the journey. As you are aware, Tobago Updates Television on the morning show, we always have the conversations you wish you can have. We talk you through what is happening here on the island of Tobago with things that affect both you and I and all of us who reside here and all of us who have interest here on the island. So it is indeed a pleasure to be coming to you this morning, whether you are in your kitchen making your first cup of coffee for the morning, whether you're getting yourself ready for work or to drop the children off to school. Yes, it is back to school this morning. Most children are going back out to school this morning, so we do hope that as you traverse on the nation's roads, you do so safely. Before we get into all of our conversations this morning, we head on over to the news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Adana. Here is your news in 90 seconds for Monday, January 6, 2025. Tobago recorded its first murder for 2025 with the death of 15-year-old Beres Joseph, a Golden Lane resident and a Signal Hill Secondary School student. Residents of Mount Hay reported hearing gunshots on January 3rd, and Joseph's body was found on a roadway the next morning. Police investigations are ongoing. Up next, Dr. Delmon Baker has been appointed as Chief Executive Officer of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, officially assuming office on January 3rd. Dr. Baker is well acquainted with the organization, having dedicated over 12 years of service to the TRHA. He served as a Member of Parliament from 2010 to 2015 before rejoining the TRHA in 2017 as a District Medical Officer. Most recently, Dr. Baker acted as Hospital Administrator at the Roxburgh Hospital from September 30th, 2024 to January 2nd, 2025. His extensive experience in healthcare and public service positions him to lead the TRHA effectively. And finally, the screening process of the People's National Movement for its prospective candidates for Tobago East and the West constituency was successfully completed at the Calder Hall Multipurpose Facility in Scarborough on Saturday. Honorable Shamfa Kajol Lewis is the PNM's prospective standard bearer in Tobago West, while Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy is the party's prospective candidate of choice for Tobago East. This gives the total of 33 prospective PNM candidates to campaign for this year's general election. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Bianna, for our news there in 90 seconds. And, you know, coming out of the news, very, very interesting topics there. Sadly, Tobago reporting its first murder of 2025.
Yes.
And, I mean,
the age of that individual is very alarming.
And the circumstances, you know, you saw a lot of things, videos circulating on social media,
yes.
A lot of suggestions being made where that is concerned. And, you know, it's not the way we wanted to start the year, of course, but this is where we are. And of course, we have to have conversations. We have to have ongoing conversations, ongoing collaborations, talk with the TTPS, yes. Of course, to see where we are. We've been talking about crime situation for a very, very long time. I know we are in an SOE as well.
Yes.
So those are things we also have to consider in this conversation. You know, and also on the heels of that, we hear the Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, saying that he is not putting himself up for re-election at the next general elections. You know, things to talk about. We have a lot of things to talk about here in studio. And, you know, of course, Tobago Updates Television is going to take our viewers through the paces. We're going to take you through the conversations as things happen. We're going to be bringing you all the updates on our morning show on GMT and as well on our news news reports every evening, 6:30 p.m. So, of course, we're going to be bringing all of that to you as well. Whatever live broadcast that they are having, of course, we will also be transmitting that as well. Bianna, what are your thoughts on the happenings over the weekend? Like, for instance, from Friday with the announcement of the Prime Minister, as well as, you know, the report of that murder taking place there over the weekend?
Well, I don't want to really focus much on, you know, the sad news, you know, though it's something, you know, questionable in terms of the individual's age, and, you know, at that age, time factor where the situation probably would have happened, that's an age for you to be at your bed, you know. But I would like to focus on the fact that, you know, yesterday the island was a bit buzzed with the 2 tourist ships in the harbor. It was really exciting to see the Esplanade came alive.
Yes, and I'm sure Esplanade management is very, very happy to report that, you know, we saw videos circulating on social media where that is concerned. And of course, we do hope that we could bring back the life to the Scarborough Esplanade and bring life to Scarborough in general. There are so many areas that can come to life. Let's talk about the boardwalk. Let's talk about Fort King George. Let's talk about, of course, all of those areas really need to come to life. And, you know, we do hope that this is just a beginning of things to come. And, you know, Bianna, this morning we're bringing the sunshine. We're bringing the sunshine for Tobago, for all of Tobago. We're bringing the sunshine for you as we are unplanned here in bright colors, hoping that this week will be bright and filled with good news and hopes for a greater future. Bianna, is there anything else you want to share with us before you go for the week, for the morning?
Well, it's back to school, and back to school you have to be consistent, which is schoolwork. So I think consistency is the word going forward this week.
Of course, we remain with that word consistency. Of course, you know, you have to keep at it to ensure that you achieve your goals. Bianna, thank you so much for joining us here on the morning show this morning, bringing our news in 90 seconds and for that chit chat. Do have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Same to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the morning where we celebrate with those who are celebrating. It's time for our birthday shout-outs. On screen and celebrating with us, we have Mr. Dale Wallace. Dale Wallace is celebrating a birthday today, and Dale, we want to say happy birthday to you. We pray God's blessings upon your life, and we do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday. So happy birthday to you. Yariel Phillips. Yariel Phillips he celebrated a birthday, and we're saying happy belated birthday to you, Yariel. We pray that God blesses you and keeps you, and we do hope that you have a wonderful birthday season as you enter into this new chapter and this new year of your life. Shania Coker is also celebrating. Shania, we say happy birthday to you, and we do pray God's blessings upon your life. We do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday season. Happy New Year, and all that is good to you as well. Happy birthday to you. And finally, another belated birthday, Natasha James. Yes, Natasha James, that's my girl, celebrating a birthday there. And we want to say happy belated birthday, in fact, to you. And we do pray God's blessings upon your life. We do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday season. And we pray God's blessings upon your life. We say happy, happy birthday to you. And to all of you who are celebrating, even though we don't have your photo, whether you're celebrating a birthday, you're celebrating an anniversary, a promotion, or even your retirement, we say happy celebration to you. And we encourage you, of course, to include God in your celebration. He is the reason why you have something to celebrate. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday morning, and you might be wondering what's in my cup. What's in my cup is sponsored by LCJ Delights. And this morning, I'm still in the festive season a little bit. I'm having sorrel and ginger tea. Yes, I know you're used to hearing me saying sorrel and bay leaf, but listen, there's a sorrel and ginger that I recently discovered, and it is a delight. So thank you, LCJ Delights, for sponsoring my drink this morning. Who are we speaking with in studio? It's Monday morning, and you know when we come here on Mondays, we usually have a representative from the TTPS. And so we're going to start off conversations this morning by speaking with ACP Dirk John of the TTPS as he brings the updates. You know, there are a lot of things we have to talk about where that is concerned. In fact, this entire morning is dedicated to speaking with the TTPS as they bring updates to us as it relates to things happening here in Tobago. It's a brand new year, and of course, as we see, the year started off in, sort of not the way we'd like it to go. And of course, we have to have those conversations to find out what are the plans, what are the intentions, and how are we going to manage the state of Tobago. Also, we have to talk about the fact that we're under a state of emergency as well. What does that mean for you? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for all of us here on the island of Tobago? So we do hope that you could stay with us as we have the conversation, get the information, and continue the discussions right here in studio. Whether you are viewing right here in Tobago, whether you are in Trinidad, you are in the United States of America, whether you are in Canada, in UK, wherever you are on the planet, thank you so much for choosing us and for making us your #1 choice for morning show here in Tobago. We're going to continue bringing the conversations to you, so whether you are on our Facebook live stream, on our YouTube channel, or on Amplia 102, this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Unwrap the magic of Christmas and have the best Christmas ever with a Christmas Wishes loan from Bethel Credit Union.
Up to 20,000 can be yours, so you can take care of all those Christmas expenses. You could even pay off all your debts and your credit card.
Come on down to where we make wishes come through, because we see you
at BCU.
Visit any of our offices today at 31 Bethlehem Road, Bethel, Tobago, or Mount Mary, Lower Scarborough, Tobago.
You can contact us at 639-8226-660-7358 or 631-1336.
Normal lending criteria apply. Think, plan, save with Bethel Credit Union. Because we see you at BCU. We see you at BCU. Come on down, get a loan or two, cause we see you this Christmas at BCU.
Join us this Thursday, January 9th at 5 p.m. for a special year in review program. We'll recap the significant strides made by the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and Urban Development. Hear directly from Assemblyman Trevor James and Assemblyman Terrence Baines as they discuss the successes, challenges, and future plans for Tobago's infrastructure. Don't miss this opportunity to learn more about the transformation of Tobago's landscape. Tune in live on Tobago Updates Television.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. I am Adana Kambi, and we begin conversations this morning in studio, and we are speaking with ASP. That's not ACP, that's my error in the beginning there. ASP Dirk John this morning, as we talk about crime updates here on the island of Tobago, the position of the TTPS, and where do we go from here. Good morning and welcome.
I sing you.
Right, likewise. And of course, Happy New Year to you. We're going to get straight into the conversation. Okay. As you are aware, Tobago is a very small community-based type of living. And how we kind of engage with our neighbors, we engage with the person on the street. I mean, that traditionally is who we are. And we've seen a move away from that. And of course, an introduction of crime. Last year, when we're talking about 26 murders here on the island of Tobago. And starting on January 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, the first murder recorded for 2025. This is not something we're used to on the island of Tobago. It's not something that we accept or appreciate. And of course, we know we have to speak aggressively about what is happening on the island. So, you know, having you here, we're going to have that conversation. Where are we out of 2024 and where do we go into 2025?
Allow me to express condolences to that young man's family. 15 years to go like that, it's tough. And coming from homicide, having seen the blood on the street, I believe as you started your conversation, Tobago needs to be a little more neighborly and to be more together. Because I believe there are families who are encouraging criminality and they need to stop it. So let's go straight to it. Let's take care of our loved ones, looking out for them, supporting them in what's right and what's fair and what's just. To lose a 15-year-old is not what we want, and we are presently on the hunt for the killers.
You know, in terms of, I know we always talk about if you see something, say something. Correct. In terms of your intelligence, I mean, 2024, as I said, was a hot year.
Yes.
In terms of your intelligence and persons coming forward to have conversations, give information, how has that collaboration been with the TTPS in terms of getting the information that is necessary to ensure that, you know, you get the information, you get out there, you get on the streets? I know you all came on the show before a number of times and you're talking about additional boots on the ground. You know, how has the information been coming in from persons, whether they're using the hotlines or whatever other means to get information from you?
Well, we appreciate that we've been getting a lot more calls coming in. We've been pulling some guns off the street and we've been locating some additional drug blocks. So I would encourage members of the public to continue along that lane by speaking to us. So we have the 555, we have the 800 tips. Those are anonymous. If members of the public want a more rapid response, they should use the 999 system. So we have been getting the calls. We embrace it because that is what we need in order to propel our investigation.
And in terms of, there was a series of town hall meetings, kept especially coming down to the end of last year, like middle to the end of last year. A lot of town meetings. What was the interaction like? Did the community come out? Did they air their concerns?
Yes, they did.
Were they a part of the conversation? And did anything they contribute to the conversation assist you in terms of how you're going to strategize to curb crime in specific areas?
As head of operations on this beautiful island, I encourage that type of interaction with members of the public because we cannot go forward unless we know where the trouble is taking place. So when you look at the Argyle situation last year, members of the public came out. Yes, they hit us hard. They told us exactly what they expected, what they didn't like from the police, but we appreciate that because from there, we can adjust and adapt our plans to suit. So it's important that members of the public say what they need to say to encourage us to propel our investigations more positively.
And what is your plan in terms of, are you going to continue that type of interaction with communities heading into 2025? I mean, I know there are so many things happening. You said under your breath just now, it's needed. Yes. Needed. So what is the plan in terms of the rollout? How aggressive are you going to be? Are you going to go into community by community or are you going to do it in a zonal way? How are you planning to go into the communities? Talk to listen, people, we are tired.
I can see
we are tired in Tobago. This is not who we are.
Yes.
And we really need to have the type of conversations, as I always say, that leads into action.
Yes.
So what are the plans in terms of engaging communities this year?
I do sense how you feel, Adana. I do sense how you feel. And having a conversation recently with someone, I told them Tobago ought not to lose the paradise sense. You see, at the end of the day, we're talking about 60,000 people, at least. Very together with harvests and other festivals that I've been part of. And it's encouraging, it's warm. The few miscreants in the midst, those gun runners, those drug men, we're going to come after them. But we need that support. We need that grounding. People need to be encouraged that what you're seeing on the ground, especially during the SOE, is an intensification of police operations. We've been doing this all the time, and we will continue to. It's important that we gain the trust, we restore the trust and confidence needed to have that exchange more positively. Public, police. It's a partnership.
It is a partnership indeed, and as you mentioned, getting guns off the streets. We don't manufacture guns here in Trinidad and Tobago. We can't. We don't have what it takes to do that. But yet, you are collecting guns from off the streets. So where are they coming from? We have spoken about border patrol.
Yes.
We've talking about controlling our borders and the porosity of it.
Yes.
What are the plans? I mean, I know you might not be able to tell me in details, but what is being put in place? What conversations are being had with all the other agencies who are here to govern and to ensure that our borders remain safe?
You're looking at a partnership, especially with the Coast Guard, Immigration, Port Authority, as well as intel agencies that are monitoring what they need to monitor. It's important that the police, as a repository of information, to dissect and to investigate.
But you know, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're talking about all these agencies. Do they have, because sometimes you hear them say, we don't have this and we don't have that, do they have...
To speak to their assets, Adana, to speak to their assets, that would not be my thing. I can speak to the police and what we're doing. But we, the police, will partner with who we need to. The Coast Guard is a very important partner.
Yes, they are.
Port Authority as well. Because vessels are coming in, vehicles are coming in, those guns are not flying in. They're not walking in on the island. So therefore, we will touch base with our relevant entities. Yes, everyone has their constraints. National security is under constraint. We know this.
And so when they have these constraints, of course, you have to have an alternative. Is there a conversation around, okay, we don't have this.
Yes.
This is how we're going to go.
Yes.
Because remember, we have to rebuild public trust and confidence.
Of course.
And that is the primary thing we have to work towards to ensure. For instance, you want people to start calling, and you did mention that you saw an increase in the number of persons calling in.
Correct.
This is the kind of thing we want to keep encouraging, and this would only happen once the public is confident that the information they share, one, remains anonymous,
yes,
and that, of course, action would be taken in terms of an investigation.
Yes.
So that's why we want to continue happening here on the island of Tobago. And now, as we're going to touch on the SOE in a little bit. When
yes,
we're going to go for a short break before we touch on the SOE in the next segment. But as we enter into 2025 with all the things that are happening around us, where is the TTPS position in terms of, one, confidence, two, resources, you know, the spirit of let us get these criminals off the street, get the guns and all of these off the street, so that Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago,
yes,
and by extension primarily Tobago, is once again a safe space.
When you speak to national security, you can't remove the personal security of everyone. I need you feeling safe. I need each member, each citizen who's working, who's living, who have families, who are passing through, to be safe. It's a heavy, heavy portfolio. But if all hands are not on deck, we can't get there. People got to appreciate that, hey, if you're losing something so valuable as peace, what you got to do, you can't put your hands up into the air and give it up and surrender. We got to hold hands together and ensure that we save this place.
Yes, we do. And I want to pick up on something that one of our viewers is saying here, Miss Julia Brown. She's saying the government of our country needs to invest in forensic, in terms of, you know, investigating and ensuring that the information is gathered so that a charge can be laid. Because, okay, I mentioned that we're going to go into SOE after, but let me just put this in here. As in a state of emergency, you can't arrest without a charge, but we want to get the information that will lead to a charge and conviction so that we know, as you mentioned, we remain in a safe space. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for a really short break before we continue conversation, but I want you to keep this in mind as we go to that break. ASP said that he wants us to be safe and that we have to come together as communities to ensure that we provide that space where we are safe. Remember, if you see something, say something. You might see somebody strange in your neighborhood. A lot of persons are migrating neighborhoods. You've seen people migrating to different neighborhoods. Right. You might not know, you might not be aware as to who that person is. If you see some kind of strange arrangement, you know, make a phone call somebody, or even try to befriend the new persons in your community to see if you can make a little assessment there before you decide how you feel. We have to go for a short break before we continue. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Distributors Christmas special is here. Choose from our special meat packages at unbelievable prices. Perfect for your holiday feasts. Hurry, limited stocks. Order now. 11 pounds chicken, 5 pounds pork, 5 pounds turkey, 1 picnic ham, 1 liter pear jacks, only $500. Order now at deltechdistributors.com. Call or WhatsApp 359-5040 or 237-0102. Only $20 delivery or come into our main road Argyle store.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. Before we went to the break, of course, we were speaking with ASP Dirk John. We're talking about crime here on the island of Tobago, how you and I can help and partner with the TTPS to ensure that we can get the criminal elements off the streets and to make Tobago a safe space once again. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're heading into conversations about the SOE. As you are aware, Trinidad and Tobago was declared in a state of SOE, state of emergency. I think it was on the 30th of December 2024, and we're still in that space, and we want to talk a little bit about how that impacts our lives as citizens. I know a lot of people still have a lot of questions. They're unclear as to what it means, especially as we currently do not have a curfew attached to the SOE, so they're wondering what are the elements. So let's talk a little bit about the average citizen in Trinidad and Tobago. What can they understand? What should we understand by the state of emergency and where we are right now?
Let's look at one key issue of movement. Due to the fact that there is no curfew in place, persons are free to conduct their business during the day and during the night. It is important. In relation to stop and searches, we have intensified that. So the state of emergency has allowed us to intensify our ability to stop and search persons and places without warrant. We are working in tandem with the Defense Force as well, who has similar police powers. By working with those entities, we allow a balanced approach to achieving our goals, which is those persons who are bent on causing mayhem, we are going straight for them. It's not the average citizen we're looking for, We're looking for those persons that we have information, intelligence on, evidence, who are gun runners, smugglers, drug traffickers.
And that's the next thing, is intelligence-based. The stop and search is based on intelligence that you receive. Right, good.
So it's more focused. So the average person going to work, taking their children to school this morning, school has reopened, they have nothing to study. The inconvenience would be that if we are applying a police operation such as a roadblock, it's going to take some time. Just bear with us, please. Because we know who we're looking for, we know what we want to retrieve. So we'll just ask them to just move along as that time comes along. Just bear with us with that. It's not going to be permanent. It's just that we are more targeted and specific towards those persons who are causing problems.
The inconvenience is absolutely necessary at this time, especially as you conduct those exercises as well. We're talking now about the Army being a part of the SOE, having those types of authorities
stop and search
as well. We also want to talk about the fact that you can detain without a charge.
Yes.
How does that work, and what does the average citizen I know you could go into somebody's home without a warrant.
Yes.
Let's go with that and do the searches, probably arrest them. And let's say, for instance, you find nothing there that is incriminating or leads to a charge or anything like that, and the person is free to go.
Yes.
We spoke about this earlier on the show with another guest. What is the citizen supposed to do then? Like, you came into my home and I was the wrong person. I didn't do anything. There's nothing. You didn't find anything there. What steps can I take as a citizen?
Understood. And that's a primary concern. What we should say is this. Our information drives us. Sometimes the information is not good, but we have to check it out still. All right? Now, when you look at the action of entering into a property based on the SOE, we are specifically looking for persons who have or are considered to be priority offenders, persons who are in possession of firearms, ammunition, quantum of drugs. If it is that we enter a home and there is an issue, there is still recourse in relation to the police complaints. They can still file a complaint. But the officers are mandated to be as civil and professional as they have been always. Now, the issue of stop and search, we always had that ability. It's just that we have intensified it. You're going to see a greater vigilance, a greater visibility, and the propensity for us to act more aggressively towards those persons who have been committing crimes. All right? So we are more focused on that.
What are some of the things that would lead to there having to be now a curfew?
Yes. Well,
are we hoping that we don't get there?
Changes,
that's right.
If there is additional information coming to the National Security Council, I would not know at this time. But if the information changes as to the status of things, I believe the powers that be would have that ability to reshape aspects of the declaration.
So it will take something that is, let's say, not as manageable as it is right now.
Correct.
To lead. And we're hoping, Trinidad and Tobago, we're hoping that it does not get to that state where we have to go into a curfew. I know initially when the state of emergency was mentioned, the first thing on everybody's question, I was looking at people updates, their status updates, their Facebook posts, and are we having a curfew was the number one question. But I feel as if there are more important questions to ask. You mentioned we know there's no curfew at this point in time. You can continue with your business, conduct your business as usual. But the more important questions are, what are the things that why we don't have a curfew is the question. Not
I understand.
Do we have a curfew? Why don't we have a curfew? And as you mentioned before, just intensifying the things that you were doing before.
Correct.
And it does not warrant a curfew right now. And we're hoping by God's grace and by our behavior, it does not warrant a curfew.
Correct.
What are some of the things outside of this stop and search that you have intensified over the period that we are going to be under an SOE?
All right, so I can't go to the specifics of that. Operationally, we can adjust and adapt as information comes. The key issue is we want those guns off the street. It is unacceptable that persons are running around with high-powered weapons and indiscriminately shooting at persons. Yes, they have their targets, but there are innocent persons moving around that would fall victim to that type of action. So we're looking for those high-powered weapons, and we're going where we need to go.
And in terms of the Tobago instance, can we say that the intelligence is coming in a way that you are happy with so far, and you're encouraging that it will continue to come in so that you are able to, there are some hotspot areas. There are some areas that you definitely have to target.
Yes.
Have you been able to identify some of those hotspot areas as a result of your intelligence?
Yes.
And of course, strategies have been implemented to ensure that you get in there, extract and get out?
Yes. So when you look at a multi-agency approach to this, we have several entities working together. What I attempt to do as a operations lead is to pool the information, have it analyzed for its value, and then act on it. So there's a constant flow. As the information comes to me, I can dissect it and then dispatch it to relevant entities to act on it. So we're getting a lot more intelligence, which we can transform into evidence. So we have, over the last few days, arrested shooters and persons we believe bent on causing mischief on the island. So the officers are doing a really good job under the station commanders, the inspectors, the sergeants, and those officers who are working tirelessly day and night. When some people are sleeping and having a good time, we are on the streets doing what we need to do. Kudos to the officers.
You said that you had a few arrests over the past couple of days.
Yes.
Are you able to disclose the numbers of persons that you were arrested and perhaps the crime that they were arrested for?
All right. So as of, and I'm going to pull a media release from the TTPS from the 4th of January, we had 126 persons held, 675 rounds of ammunition, varied assortments. Now, you're looking at persons who are suspected of committing homicides, shootings, woundings. Those are key violent crimes that we need to put in check.
And this is in the Trinidad and Tobago space. Do you have specifics in the Tobago space for that period?
Well, I wouldn't want to go into that at this point in time.
All right. So you're seeing the SOE as being effective, as it were, where you are in terms of the operations and, of course, the numbers that you just presented there. And you're seeing that it is creating a type of impact that you're hoping that will be continuous?
Of course. What you get from the officers on the ground is that before their hands were tied in relation to entering, getting the substantive judicial authority to enter within a timely manner. Now, it's important that people understand that we act within the confines of the law always. If we go outside of that, there's going to be problems. So in order for the officers to get the thing done, we need the authority. So with the manifestation of the SOE, we can now venture into and search with a view to seize those firearms, those drugs, as well as persons who we suspect of committing violent crimes. Now, the issue of reasonable suspicion is important to disclose. Information, facts, circumstances that come to our attention, based on information, based on surveillance, based on sources verified, we act towards obtaining substantive proof.
You know, sometimes when you're in a state of emergency, sometimes you call out officers who are on vacation. In this instance, was that done? Did you have to call on additional resources to ensure that the operation, because as you mentioned, it's intensified, more boots on the ground,
yes.
And people are doing, you know, the police, the TTPS and the agencies are working. Have you had to call members who are on vacation and out of the country back to assist in this particular state of emergency?
Well, we have utilized some aspects of that particular power through the senior superintendent. And we have a lot more available. However, we can have a lot more still. So in time to come, the senior super is going to look at the situation, the status, review, and then act towards improving where needs to be.
Of course, I know that the primary objective is to ensure we get the criminal elements off the street.
Correct.
And to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago comes back to a place that is safe. And primarily here in Tobago, as we were mentioning, Tobago is really a community-based.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
A community-based space, and we are seeing a lot of different faces. For me, in general, I am seeing a lot of different faces in spaces that I know to be Tobago spaces, and I'm seeing, you know, so I want to take this opportunity to encourage persons in the communities to befriend your neighbor. If you see somebody new living in your community, if you see something strange in the community, how about have a conversation? Do we still have community councils, village councils coming together and having events, conversations, meetings? And again, town hall meetings by the TTPS needs to be something that is ongoing in 2025 to get that measure of collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're going to go for a short break before we continue conversations here in studio this morning with ASP Dirk John of the TTPS as we speak about the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago with a focus on what is happening here on the island of Tobago. Remember, we also have a responsibility to partner with to ensure that the spaces we reside in remain safe for us and for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your opportunity to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We will be right back.
Join us this Thursday, January 9th at 5 p.m. for a special year in review program. We'll recap the significant strides made by the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and Urban Development. Hear directly from Assemblyman Trevor James and Assemblyman Terrence Baines as they discuss the successes, challenges, and future plans for Tobago's infrastructure. Don't miss this opportunity to learn more about the transformation of Tobago's landscape. Tune in live on Tobago Updates Television.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With Amplia TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with Amplia's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With Amplia, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. Amplia. Do more, live more.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We continue conversations this morning, and we're speaking with ASP Dirk John of the TTPS as we talk about things crime in Trinidad and Tobago. We started off by talking about the updates for the Tobago space, and then we went on to SOE, and we're going to continue the conversations, and we want you guys to know that the phone lines will be open this morning. The number to call is 284-6597. You can call us and leave your comments there. You can even WhatsApp us and let us know how you feel, what you think, and you can also comment on the live stream. But we're hoping that you can call in this morning and be a part of the conversation. ASP, in recent times, we've been seeing a lot of what they call gel guns or gel blasters being a problem in the public space. I want to get into the conversation because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it is a rumor, but I think it was over the weekend, where a young man was shot because he had a gel gun. So let's go through that conversation. First of all, is it legal, permissible to own and have and operate a gel gun in Trinidad and Tobago? I know for me, I don't like to see children playing with guns at all. Water gun, no type of gun. And so here we are. We've graduated. You look at some of these gel blasters and they look like...
They look real.
They look so real.
And that's the dangerous thing for us. Because as a security practitioner, lighting condition plays a part with me, right? If I'm operating during the day or operating during the night, and someone points an object like that at me, how am I to tell that it's real or not? You understand? And that's a very dangerous thing. Also, the person needs to understand, by pointing an object like that, they may be committing the offense of common assault. It's a very, very serious thing.
Yeah, because I'm thinking a gel gun is a toy, right?
It's something
toy.
But how would the police know? You see, I would suggest, now it's a lot of young men with this craze of pulling a trigger. Stay in your house and play with that gel gun. Do not exit your house. Do not be on the street at any point in time, especially during such a time like this, and running around with that pointing at anyone.
You know, because I saw some images
Yes.
of the gel gun, and it really does look like a real
Yes,
machine.
it does. Yes, it does. Now, you also have the phenomenon of imitation firearms. And just recently in the United States, officers shot a 13-year-old whilst in pursuit of him, only to realize that he was in possession of an imitation firearm. So people need to be careful, especially with that in the public. Stay in your house. You understand?
And you know, my next thing is, while you are not the policymaker and the lawmaker, there are some things that we have to put restrictions on in terms of getting to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
I think that is something we have to put a ban on. No importation of those types of toys. We've put restrictions on other different things,
Of course.
like camouflage clothing.
And
for
sex
instance.
toys.
Yeah, yeah. Let's put a ban on this. You know, and I'm speaking to the policymakers now. There are things that we need to revisit, things that we need to review. And, you know, I think a toy gun it might sound like a toy, but I think a gun is a good thing to put a ban on, to put some type of restrictions on, especially the mode of Trinidad and Tobago right
Correct.
now, the way things are happening.
Correct.
And, you know, I don't know if I could attribute this to guys playing games online, because, you know, there are lots of these online games, whether they call them Fortnite or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And of course, they want to practice in real.
Yes.
You know, besides staying behind a control and playing on a screen,
Yes.
they want to make it real, as you call them, trigger happy.
Sugar happy. Now, again, understand the conditioning that every day you have this thing in your hand and you're pulling the trigger. That's muscle memory within the police circles. It means that if you find something with a trigger, your mind mentally goes to pulling that trigger. It's a dangerous thing. How would someone such as a child tell the difference between a real weapon and a fake weapon? We have had instances in homes where a child would locate a firearm and injure someone or probably themselves. So what I'm saying is that now we have the issue of FUL holders as well, not securing their weapons adequately, which could cause problems. So 80% plus of homicides are committed with firearms. Gel guns, I don't want to see it, and my officers don't want to see it outside here. Play with it home.
And that, you know, takes me to the next point. Recently, I think it was closer to the end of last year, we saw where some young children at home in Trinidad, they were playing with a firearm.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah.
You understand? And someone lost their life. It's unfortunate, but we are investigating that to understand the responsibility as to whom and what we're going to do after.
We have to be a little bit more responsible
Absolutely.
and vigilant. For those parents who are buying toys for their
May I
children.
suggest
But
a
then
book,
again,
Adana? May I suggest a good book? I think that's a good gift. What you say? Read, build your knowledge, improve vision to allow yourself to be more cemented in society.
or
in time to
even
come.
get involved in some type of community activity,
course,
a
of course,
sport, for
of course.
instance. There are other interests. Play play football,
Exactly.
get into a club or something like that, instead of sitting behind a device. And I believe that interest came from playing those video games, and now wanting to have this gel gun to say, right, I actually have this gun in my hand,
Exactly.
and I'm going to fire shots
Exactly.
at whomever.
Now, please, the police, we're not going to ask you, is that real?
You don't
What
have
you have
time
in your
for
hand,
that, do
is that
you?
real? No, we're not going to. Our lives, we have family, we have children. The officers do understand the use of force policy, and they will seek to preserve their lives.
And that is very, very important, because, of course, if you see an item looking like a gun, whether it's toy, whether it's fake, whether it's real,
Exactly.
as you mentioned, the first thing is to preserve lives. And, you know, you can't try to figure out, well, this is a 15-year-old child or a 14-year-old
No, not
child,
in
and
that
they're playing in
instant.
the yard.
Exactly.
You can't sit and try to determine that. You have to immediately advance and see what is, you know, try to preserve your life.
Absolutely.
And in this instance, the last one I was talking about, the report is that the child the person aimed the gun at the officer That is why they were shot. I can't remember exactly where I saw that, but it was over the weekend that I saw something of that nature happening. And of course, it is quite scary. And we have to expect that if you put yourself in that type of situation, there are certain things that will happen. So, of course, we have to be responsible. In terms of persons who are able to sell these devices, is it that they're importing them off of sites, or are they buying them locally?
Well, let's look at how these things are entering into the country. I would implore my colleagues at Customs to be more vigilant and understanding as to the present climate, and to treat with that prior to its entry onto the land. So again, conversations with relevant entities is important to understand the broader national security landscape to treat with these things, because we are not importing them, the police. Civilians are bringing them in and they're passing through the ports, you understand, to be then distributed to various merchandisers.
And you know, I remember, our callers remember the lines are open. You can call 284-6597 so we can have the conversation. And as you're talking about importing stuff, I remember a couple of years ago, I was trying to import a small toy drone.
Yes.
A tiny one. It was like about this size, the size of a tea plate.
Yes.
And the amount of interrogation I had to go through from customs just to bring in that small, tiny device.
Yes.
And now, how are gel blasters getting in here? I wonder if they are getting the same type of interrogation that I received to bring in a plastic, literally a blue plastic disc for a child. So what are the processes now in terms of importing things? Because we're talking about something that looks like a weapon.
Correct, correct. And people are painting them over. So the black effect brings the black effect, which is death. You understand that? And this is not what we want, because we have so many other things to deal with on this land. Should we deal with gel guns now? So is this thing one thing after the next? No. Put a clamp on it so we can treat the broader issue. You understand? Reducing homicides, removing those shooters from off the streets so that people can go about their daily lives much better.
You know, I think public education is very, very important. And this is why I will speak again about the town meetings, not just the town meetings to hear what community members have to say, but in terms of educating them on the law, what is acceptable, and how we're going to move forward. Because maybe they think, well, I could import a gel gun, so it's not illegal. It's not, nothing is wrong with it. So let me just do this. We now have to talk about change in behavior.
Correct.
We have to talk about improving the way we think and the way we behave.
Yes.
And think about the reactions to our actions.
Consequences. That's what you mentioned.
That's right.
Consequences. You see, someone pulling the trigger on someone has to understand consequence. So taking control of your family, especially your young sons, is important. Where is your 15-year-old going late at night? Who is he going to see or meet? Whose car is he jumping into? You understand? Because your school age, what you ought to be doing at home is to be reviewing your work for the next day. Nothing is wrong in chatting with your friends, you know. But where are you going at 10 o'clock in the night, 11 o'clock in the night? Take control of your homes.
Have we lost control? It means that we've lost control.
Well, then we have lost control of ourselves. At the end of the day, I want to know that my kids can grow up and live long, prosperous, happy lives, safe lives, being valuable to the community. I'm going to play my part. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to play my part. But my son can't tell me, I go in and pump, and it's 11 o'clock in the night. I say, pump, sleep.
Why is he even awake at 11 p.m.?
Probably watching something on TV, you know, because again, the stimulation visually for the young ones are important, you know. That's why these games attract them. It's visually stimulating. But I recommend, with regards to reading, there are audio books, and there are books that you can lift your imagination and allow yourself proper expression. Because most times on the street, when we approach them, they can't adequately express themselves, you know. For example, the word normal, Adana. We hear that a lot, you know. Say, listen, I'm going with you. And normal. What does that mean?
What does it mean?
What does that mean? Because you can have a gun on you normal. You could be gunning down people normal. So what is normal? So again, when you look at one's expression, maybe they couch it, but you see an inadequacy of expression, especially young men. What does that say? If you can't adequately express yourself, if you're disappointed, if you're angry, you pull a gun. Instead of looking to talk it out, what is the issue? Let me trash it out. You understand? We go straight to maximum 100%. No. Let's negotiate. You know?
And you know what you're leading to there is, you know, there was a saying that we used to say, I hear it, you know, kind of not as often as I used to. It takes a village.
Correct.
And I feel as if the village is failing. And so we need some type of encouragement to bring our village back to ensure that our children are in a good place. I remember as a child growing up, if, let's say for instance, your parents and the neighbor have a falling out, that has nothing to do with you as a child.
Correct.
Now you see children answering back the neighbor.
Correct. It's not a big people business.
Yeah. And you see parents running up in school for the teacher, for the child.
Yes.
If a teacher complained about me to my parents, I know I was going home to some good licks. You know, and I feel as if we have changed so many things in terms of how we bring up communities, how we bring up children. And another thing we don't really attend to is talking about issues in the home.
Correct.
As you just mentioned, a young person cannot articulate themselves properly. And I feel as if that situation is not created at home for them to be able to do that. Created in the school, there are guidance officers. There are so many different persons who can come together to ensure that a child is in a good place, to do some investigations. There's community policing that goes into schools, that have conversations. And I think these are things we need to amplify and to kind of bring back to ensure that our young people, because I'm telling you, they go through a lot.
Yes, definitely.
And their communication skills are really, really poor.
Yes.
And I feel because we have not created a situation where they feel safe or comfortable, you know, especially a young man. A young man will say he normal because if you ask him what happened to him and something really is happening and he says what is happening, what his partner is going to do.
Exactly. Exactly. Now look at within the home. As parents, the question of what do you think and how do you feel are very impactful questions, you know. It allows now for you to look at the body language of the child. As the child is bringing out a particular emotion, be it upset, be it scared, be it happy, be it elated. Ask the questions. What do you think? How do you feel? Yet you are in charge, not the child. I can't see how you can't enter into your child's room.
That's a question for another day. Ladies and gentlemen, we're so happy that you stayed with us throughout this entire conversation this morning. We've been speaking with ASP Dirk John of the TTPS, talking about the crime updates here on the island of Tobago, SOE, and of course some things that we can do to ensure that our communities and our spaces are kept safe once again. Remember, if you see something, say something, you can call the hotlines to give your information and to support the TTPS in curbing crime here on the island of Tobago. This is where we end the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, but it's not where we end our programming. We head on over to GMT, that is Good Morning Tobago, and as you stay with us, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live.
This morning I want us to explore some background to the modern Tobago House of Assembly. You may have heard that we are approaching the 250th year of the Parliament being in Tobago. That's the institution called
the Tobago House of Assembly, because that existed long before we became an independent nation. However, the modern Tobago House of Assembly came as a result of a motion moved in 1977 by former President, Prime Minister and Chairman of the THA, A.N.R. Robinson. Owing to that motion, the THA Act of 1980 instituted the modern Tobago House of Assembly, and Mr. Robinson went on to leading the very first installation of the modern Tobago House of Assembly some 44 years ago. That act came with significant limitations, particularly with regards to the structure of the Tobago House of Assembly. You may not know that with that first installation between 1980 and 1996, A.N.R. Robinson started as a president the habit of calling leaders in the various divisions secretaries, but there were actually no regulation or law that allowed for that until 1996. That is to tell you how limited the structure of the THA was. It was a little better than perhaps a county council, and some will argue it wasn't much better than a county council. As a result, in 1996, the same A.N.R. Robinson, after forming a coalition with the then UNC led by Basdio Pandey in the 1772 arrangement, he decided that he would bring before the House Act 40 of 1996, and that's the Parliament. And that is the act upon which the current installation of the Tobago House of Assembly operates. Between 1980 and 1996, we had a chairman leading the Tobago House of Assembly, and as of 1996, we have a chief secretary that leads the Tobago House of Assembly. And that's why we made the distinction that A.N.R. Robinson was the first chairman of the THA, and Mr. Hochoy Charles was the first chief secretary of the THA. Now, why do we want more? Isn't the Act 40 of 1996 sufficient? And the answer is no. It's not sufficient because it still did not realize the dream as mooted before the Parliament in 1977. It still does not accord unto the people of Tobago the constitutional authority to actually manage and govern ourselves. It does not give us the right to pass laws governing things that are important to the people of Tobago and that will actually have command over the space that is Tobago. And so this is about ensuring that Tobagonians can truly self-actualize, politically that is, in this space called Tobago. It is about ensuring that the government you vote for can actually pass meaningful laws that will improve your life and your livelihoods here in Tobago. And let me give you some quick examples. In November of 2021, the Tobago House of Assembly unanimously agreed that we should send a bill down to Parliament that will accord unto the Tobago House of Assembly the authority to create and implement policies to govern marine parks in the Tobago space. Guess what? We are in 2024 and that bill has never made its way onto the parliamentary floor, which simply means that the Parliament just does not care about the things that are priority for Tobago. But that is a priority matter for Tobagonians because we are about sustainable tourism. We are about protecting our blue assets in the marine space. But we can't do that because we just don't have the authority to do so. And there are so many other areas of our lives that just simply require someone from Trinidad, from the central government, to authorize it or to allow it to happen. And sometimes that slows the progress here on island. A more current example is what's happening at the Registrar General's office. Once upon a time, we used to be able to get a birth paper in a matter of some minutes, the death certificate in a matter of some minutes. If there was an error on the certificate, it could be corrected here in Tobago. However, some colonial-minded public servants in Trinidad felt that, look, that was too much power to give to Tobago. So you know what happens now? If there's an error on your death certificate, you have to literally apply here in Tobago and wait about 6 weeks to get it corrected, or take a flight, go to Trinidad and get it the same day in Trinidad. This kind of disparity in services being available to the people of Tobago versus the people in Trinidad adds to the reason why we need to now update and upgrade Act 40 of 1996. Because we are separated by geography. We have distinct cultures. We have distinct ambitions, different cultures. And of course, the distance between us means that if we have to have one country where there is equality between the two islands and the people living on both islands must enjoy equally the same levels of service, it means that we have to have the authority here in Tobago to deliver those services to the people of Tobago in a timely fashion. And that's why when the consultations were done, the extensive consultations by former Chief Secretary Orville London, one of the matters that came up was a matter of a distinct public service in Tobago to treat with public service matters. So all our public officers who are waiting on appointments, who are waiting on approval for sick leave, like our teachers, waiting on appointment for sick leave, sometimes for donkey years, just waiting on someone in Trinidad to just sign off on it. That cannot be how we run a country, where if you live on the larger island, you can get the same service in a matter of some days. But if you live in Tobago, you wait forever to get that service. And some people think that that's okay. That is not okay. And so this call for greater autonomy is really about putting in the hands of Tobagonians this opportunity to take charge and to manage our destiny, to ensure that we have access to services and quality care from our government here on island in a timely fashion. We're not interested in disrupting what happens in Trinidad and the government flow in Trinidad or governance flow in Trinidad. It's about providing quality access to the people of Tobago in a timely manner. And there you have it, the trajectory from 1980 to then 1996 and where we are at present. This was another episode of Auto Focus. The next time you will hear from me is on Friday morning when we look at Auto Correct and we look to correct some misinformation in the space. But for now, at least you understand the progression of the Tobago House of Assembly and where we are and where we need to go. Please have a productive week ahead. God bless you.
Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix. And you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting conversations, let's have our news in 90 seconds. Tobago records its first murder of 2025 with the death of 15-year-old Veris Joseph, a Golden Lane resident and a Signan Hill Secondary School student. Residents of Mount Hay reported hearing gunshots on January 3rd, and Joseph's body was found on the roadway the next morning. Police investigations are ongoing. Additionally, the screening process for the People's National Movement for its prospective candidates for Tobago East and Tobago West constituencies was successfully completed at the Cutler Hall Multipurpose Center in Scarborough on Saturday, January 4th, 2025. The Honorable Shamfa Kajol Lewis is the PNM's prospective candidate for Tobago West, while Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy is the party's prospective candidate of choice for Tobago East. This gives the total of 33 prospective PNM candidates to campaign for this year's general election. And finally, Dr. Delman Baker has been appointed as the Chief Executive Officer of the Tobago Regional Health Authority, officially resuming office on January 3rd. Dr. Baker is well acquainted with the organization, having dedicated over 12 years of service to the TRHA. He served as Member of Parliament from 2010 to 2015 before rejoining the TRHA in 2017 as the District Medical Officer. Most recently, Dr. Baker acted as Hospital Administrator at the Roxborough Hospital from September 30th, 2024 to January 2nd, 2025. His extensive experience in healthcare and public service positions him to lead the TRHA effectively. And that was our news in 90 seconds. This morning, we're talking about all that's happening on the political scene here in Tobago. And to have this conversation with me this morning, I have the privilege of sitting and chatting with Senator Ansel Dennis. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Chanel. It's a pleasure to be here. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year to your listeners and viewers across Trinidad and Tobago and wherever else they may be at this point in time. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, and let's not forget you are also the political leader of the PNM Tobago Council. And so with that being said, we saw yesterday where two of the PNM candidates went to screening and were unopposed. What does that say about the current trajectory of the PNM in Tobago, as well as the relationships within the party and the confidence of the members to actually step forward and put themselves up for office, for election, as opposed to depending on two of the persons who have been in the parliament for the last 10 years?
Yeah. Well, it was Saturday actually that we had this screening. Of course, the PNM's process is open to all, anybody that is interested. Members of the party, even persons who are not members of the party in the past have managed to become members and be screened and went on to become candidates. So the process is open to all. Interested persons are required to submit a consent letter giving consent to be nominated by a party group or a unit of the party, which is the Women's League or the Youth League. And party groups will meet, they will conduct their process, and once people get a nomination, then they earn the right to be screened. Of course, these two magnificent young ladies have been members of parliament since 2015, and both of them have operated at the level of the cabinet since then as well. Shampa as a minister, and Ayanna as a minister in the office of the Prime Minister. Both of them have done exceedingly well in their various responsibilities, and therefore it is no surprise to me that they went unopposed. Of course, normally at this level, people don't oppose for opposing sake. They oppose for two reasons. If they feel that those who are there have not done enough, or if they feel they can do better. So I am not surprised that at this point in time that those two young ladies have distinguished themselves to the extent where deservingly they went through the process unopposed, and of course the screening committee had no problems in recommending them and endorsing them to once again represent the party at the next general election due this year.
All right. And are you confident in these two candidates going into the next general elections, especially when there are a number of conversations in the public domain regarding these two candidates particularly being very silent on a number of Tobago matters in the parliament?
Well, it depends on who is leading the conversations. And if you tell me that our opponents are leading those conversations, then that ought not to surprise anybody. They are doing what they believe is in their best interest. But when we look at the performance of these two MPs, let's take, for example, the MP for Tobago East, what has transpired in Tobago is from 2015 to now. Let me tell you, if you go up there now, you will see a new hospital, right? You will see a new police station, a new fire station, a new administrative complex. If you go to Tobago West, you will see a new airport under construction. You will also, if you travel to Trinidad via boat, you will recognize that there are 2 spanking new state-of-the-art fast ferries. And I want to say to the people of Tobago that those are the 2 MPs who sat in a cabinet and who sat in the parliament and made a case for the people of Tobago to benefit in that way from a central government. And I want to say as well that typically the central government doesn't normally facilitate Tobago in this way, because you have a Tobago House of Assembly, of course, and you have the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And I want to say particularly to the people of Tobago that because we have currently, and we've had it for the last 9 years, a Prime Minister who is a Tobagonian, that Tobago's situation was given specific focus. And therefore, if we consider all of that, I think we can only fairly conclude that those 2 MPs have done exceedingly well over the past 9 years. And I look forward to their continued representation and their continued growth and development and advancement of the needs of the people of Tobago. If I was to speak as well to the autonomy issue, I want to remind the people of Tobago as well that these 2 young ladies sat in the parliament, and they sat specifically in the Joint Select Committee when this issue came to the attention of the parliament in 2016. That is when the THA passed a bill, and we sent that bill to the cabinet, and the cabinet sent that bill unchanged to the parliament. And as part of the parliamentary procedures, a joint select committee comprising opposition members, government members, and independent members was established to treat specifically with these issues. And those 2 young ladies sat as part of that committee, along with other Tobagonians. Dr. Remy was there as well. And I think the current president of the Senate, Senator Nigel De Freitas, was also part of that committee. And they made the case, they put forward the arguments, they relied on the advice of experts. And coming out of that, we had a situation where 2 bills were drafted. And those bills to me represented a situation that would have advanced Tobago's interests significantly. Unfortunately, the bills weren't passed, as we saw recently, and I'm sure we'll get into that conversation later on. And notwithstanding the fact that the bills were not passed, I think those 2 MPs must be given the credit for the role that they played over the several years working on this specific issue, because it is and it was a hard piece of work to get this done and get it to this point.
But, and when you look at it from a strategic perspective, Tobago then meaning during the last general election, and Tobago now and its political landscape has changed drastically. What do you say to the persons who says something different is needed, a different approach is needed, different faces are needed, a different conversation is needed, a different push towards having persons in the parliament whose agenda is particularly to advance the cause of Tobago as opposed to advancing the cause of their party? Well, in that the argument has been there for a number of years that when there are independent persons in the parliament who represent Tobago, more is done for Tobago. Well, how do you respond to that?
That is foolish old talk, I will say, because I just explained to you a lengthy list of benefits that came to the people of Tobago as a result of having 2 PNM MPs in a Tobago, in a cabinet led by a Tobagonian, and the benefits cannot be denied. I'm saying if you journey from Crown Point to Charlottesville, the benefits that came to the people of Tobago as a result of that arrangement cannot be denied. So to talk now about having independent voices in the parliament, what will independent voices benefit us? They could go in the parliament and they could rant and rave and misbehave and ask all kinds of unreasonable things. It is in a government where you get things done. This airport that Tobago is now benefiting from, that is under construction, the possibility of a Sandal, the Marriott, the two fast ferries, that didn't come as a result of people going to Parliament, speaking independently, and ranting and raving and misbehaving and cussing out everybody in the Parliament. Nothing gets done that way. You get work done in the government, making serious decisions about how you're going to spend money. And money is always limited, by the way, because every ministry will go there and ask for more than what is available. And therefore, decisions have to be made. And as part of the decision-making process over the last 9 years, Tobago received special treatment and specific emphasis. And that is why we are in this position today. I will say this as well, for the people who wanted something different. We have something different in the Tobago House of Assembly at this time. People went in December 2021 and they voted for the vision of Watson Luke at the point in time. He was the leader. Farley Augustine became the chief secretary. What was the difference that was promised? Tobago first, right? Permanent employment for even TRHA workers, and a host of other promises. The question has to be asked, how has that benefited the people of Tobago today? Maybe that's a discussion we will get into, but I want to place that question on the table. How did that decision about wanting more, wanting change, and wanting something different and something new, how has that benefited us here in Tobago from then to now?
Good question. Guys, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we're going to be back right after this. See you soon.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With Amplia TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with Amplia's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 GB fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With Amplia, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. Amplia. Do more, live more.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
Join us this Thursday, January 9th at 5 p.m. for a special year in review program. We'll recap the significant strides made by the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and Urban Development. Hear directly from Assemblyman Trevor James and Assemblyman Terrence Baines as they discuss the successes, challenges, and future plans for Tobago's infrastructure. Don't miss this opportunity to learn more about the transformation of Tobago's landscape. Tune in live on Tobago Updates Television.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
It's a brand new morning.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix. This morning we are continuing our conversation on all that's happening here in Tobago, and we are having that conversation with Senator Ansel Dennis, who is also the political leader of the Tobago PNM Council. Good morning and welcome back. Now, a lot has been happening, not just in Tobago, but nationally as well. And one of those things that we've seen happening recently is the state of emergency. That was announced by the government last Monday. Now, I was on TV at the time, and while being on TV, we got the notification. So that just says that it really was not something that anyone was expecting. There were conversations that there were leaks about it happening, but all in all, the public was not expecting something of this nature. But we are still questioning the effectiveness of this SOE. And the reason why is because even though that was announced, we've still seen a number of gruesome murders happening here in Trinidad and Tobago. We saw one where the attorney was killed, and now we see a student from Signal Secondary School being killed. So it just shows from all sectors of the society, whether you're a student or whether you are a high-level special investigator, that no one is being spared with the situation with crime in Trinidad and Tobago right now. So though we mourn the loss of Attorney Hector and young persons like this young boy that got his life taken on the 3rd of January, are you in support of this SOE?
Of course. And while the SOE, as you said, took many persons by surprise, a lot of people were calling for it. Even members of the opposition were calling for an SOE. But the government, to me, always felt that it is something to be carefully considered, because when you look at the laws of Trinidad and Tobago, especially the Constitution, there are certain rights and privileges that citizens have that ought not to be infringed just like that. And therefore, very exceptional circumstances and conditions must be met in order for the government to even consider an SOE, because it's something that, of course, has to be approved by the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So, based on the advice given, of course, over the years, the police felt that, they could manage the situation outside of an SOE, as difficult as it is. But given the most recent developments, the government felt that the conditions were met for us to take this difficult step at this point in time. And Trinidad and Tobago is not the only jurisdiction in the Caribbean having taken those steps. We see it in Jamaica as well, where the government has decided to use that arrangement in an effort to curb crime. Will an SOE cause all the murders, all the crime to disappear? No. Right? It will be foolish of us to have that expectation. But it is my realistic hope that through the additional powers provided to the TTPS, for example, being able to search without procuring a warrant, should allow the TTPS to at least make a significant dent, one, in the number of gang members making themselves available to be used for the purpose of terrorizing the population. I expect them to be able to put a dent in that. And I also expect them, as they have been able to do over the last couple of weeks since this has been implemented, to remove illegal, high-powered weapons from the public. And
but
so far,
persons truly
that has been
feels
done.
safe with this SOE, seeing that people are still dying ultimately?
Well, it depends. I mean, people feel safe for different reasons. The reason why you get up this morning and you came out your house and you drove your car and you came here, and the reason why we are sitting here in this open forum is because we feel safe at this present time. However, walking into Labantil, or perhaps even walking into Port of Spain, or let's look at Tobago, for example, maybe walking by a known drug block, for example, the one in Scarborough there, at 11 p.m. in the night, I'm sure you will not feel as safe. So again, the element of safety or the feeling of safety is always dependent on the specific circumstances. I've seen the Tobago Tourism Agency and Tobago House of Assembly put out a press release that Tobago is still generally safe, right? Notwithstanding the fact that we had a record 26 murders in Tobago last year. Depending on the specific situation, it is okay to say that Tobago is still generally safe. So, yes, the situation is one that needs to be dealt with. The TTPS has ultimate responsibility, of course, for detecting crime and bringing the evidence to bear in order to have successful prosecutions and stuff. We will hope that the state of emergency will allow them to do that a bit more effectively during this period, especially targeted towards specific availability of high-powered weapons and gang members and stuff terrorizing. Because the reality is that the population of Trinidad and Tobago is 1.4 million people. And it is my view that it is only a small percentage of the population that are prepared to engage in this kind of criminal conduct. Yes, you're going to have somebody who might shoplift out of their circumstances. They're hungry, they don't have any money. They may see an opportunity to shoplift and they may do it. Right? Somebody might steal a wig or something like that because they want to go to a cannibal fete. Now, that is wrong. Right? But I'm still saying that I believe it is only a small percentage of the population that have made it their daily occupation to engage in criminal activity for gain, to go into people's homes and rob and even kill them just to get what they are not prepared to work legally for. Right? And I'm saying if we do what is required as citizens and as members of our respective communities, because everybody has a role to play. Of course, the government ought to provide the resources and the policies, etc. The TTPS has the specific responsibility to investigate crime and to lock up people. The minister can't lock up anybody. The prime minister can't lock up anybody. So the TTPS has that specific responsibility. But guess what? That responsibility will be discharged a lot more effectively if we can have greater cooperation from the citizens. And of course, people will tell you that they don't trust the police and they're not prepared to communicate with the police. I see it differently, because there are ways for people to report suspected crime. There are ways for people to inform, as we like to call it. There are ways for people to give tips while protecting their identity.
All right. And what alternative approaches do you think the government can take to truly tackle crime? Because if even a state of an emergency is not instilling the type of fear that needs to be instilled into criminals, what other mechanisms do you suggest can be put in place?
To me, a state of emergency, the state of emergency, it is too early to draw any conclusions on the effectiveness of the state of emergency. And I don't think it's about instilling fear. I don't think the criminal element is afraid of anybody or anything. Their main objective is to do what they desire to do at the point in time, whether it's to kill somebody because they believe the person killed somebody for them, which is what you call reprisals, whether it's to kill to get money to buy a gun, or kill to get money to buy a Jordan or whatever, whether it's to snatch a chain off somebody's neck to sell it to get money to buy something. I don't think it is about instilling fear, but it is about coming to a place where step by step, one, we can reduce the number of persons making themselves available to criminal gangs and to criminality generally. That is something we like to talk about. But let's face it, let's look at the actions of the government over the last 9 years and the number of opportunities provided to young people. There are avenues available to young people. You have sporting opportunities, you have Program, you have Milat, you have YTEP, you have several other programs available to young people. And most of them, let's face it, I believe most of our young people are trying to do it the honest way and the right way. Most young people are trying to make themselves available to benefit from the several opportunities afforded to them by the state. But there are a few who, unfortunately, for whatever reason, and I wouldn't get into all the reasons, I'm no criminologist or psychologist, I can only speculate. But too many of our young people are becoming willing enough to associate themselves with gangs and gang members, and to preach badness and to resort to violence. And even if we move away from the specific criminal element, let's look at the conduct of the average citizen. Too many of us are prepared to break the law, whether it be traffic regulations. We want to drive how we want to break the traffic light. Even when you look at how we interact with each other, we are quite prepared to cuss one another on Facebook, belittle one another, embarrass each other over even who we choose to get engaged to, embarrass each other because of who we choose to align with politically, cuss each other because of how we look, who fat, who might be skinny, who we find might be ugly. That is how we have chose to engage each other as a society. Go on social media any particular day, you will see people disrespecting office holders, people cussing out each other, people embarrassed. It's just a whole toxic environment. And you have young people looking on at that.
And are you
choosing to resolve
positioning
conflict
yourself in such
that
a way that you want to see a change in this toxic environment? And how do you think you could contribute to that type of change?
Well, definitely. I mean, I personally don't engage in cyberbullying, right? Of course, when it comes to the political arena, I will treat with my opponents as I see fit, but I personally don't engage in cyberbullying, right? So I believe people should be free to live their lives. People should be free to dress how they want, without others making that a topic of conversation, especially publicly. Of course, people gossip in their little circles and bad talk one another in their little circles, but social media has afforded us the unfortunate, well, I shouldn't even call it an opportunity, but the reality where we could get on social media, say what we want, and I hope we realize as well that there are a lot of people in this society who cannot take talk. And I'm sure there are circumstances where people have resorted to violence, people have harmed people for their mouths.
Right, and is this something that you are actively, discouraging your members from?
Well, that is not something that the PNM subscribes to, because I'm sure when you observe the PNM and how we conduct ourselves while in office, even at the national level, we were in a position from 2010 to 2015. And if you go back in history, we in the PNM during that time never preached doom and gloom. We never consistently made statements that the country collapse and the country mash up and the people eat grass and the people suffering. We have never gone along that road. We looked at what the government was doing. We criticized what the government was doing. We offered alternative suggestions and alternative positions. And we hoped that based on that, the people will call on us again to represent them at the level of the government. Look at what is happening now. Go on any UNC page. Go on social media generally. And you will see all kinds of racial rhetoric, divisiveness, hateful. I came across a post recently. Well, I made a post a couple days ago about the UNC and how they operate. Interestingly, not too long after that, I saw a young person in his response to something that was said by a UNC operative, a known UNC operative, who said something that was totally inaccurate, but of course it was designed to incense the population. I saw a young person in his response to that making a very unfortunate statement about the Prime Minister. I would not repeat the statement, but it is my belief that the statement should have attracted police attention, and I'm hoping it did. But I would not repeat the statement. And again, the statement was in response to something said by a UNC operative, a known UNC operative, designed to incite the population, right? It is not something that we encourage. We don't practice that in the PNM. Of course, we will criticize our opponents on their record, on what they have done to, in our opinion, destroy the people of Tobago and to destroy businesses in Tobago. We will criticize that. But you will never hear us calling for violence and preaching divisiveness and preaching race and that kind of stuff. There are few people within our support arrangements who will say that. Yes, we can't control everything that our supporters say. But clearly, it is not a strategy of the PNM, neither at the national level or the Tobago level, to go down that particular road, because it is dangerous to our democracy. And I tend to believe that, unfortunately, we are reaping some of those seeds that have been sown. And while people may feel that doing that will give them some kind of political advantage, if in the process of you getting political advantage, you are further dividing a nation, then that is unfortunate if people believe that that's a responsible way to operate.
All right. You guys are going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back with a lot more on this conversation. See you soon.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a
Join us this Thursday, January 9th at 5 p.m. for a special year in review program. We'll recap the significant strides made by the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries, and Urban Development. Hear directly from Assemblyman Trevor James and Assemblyman Terrence Baines as they discuss the successes, challenges, and future plans for Tobago's infrastructure. Don't miss this opportunity to learn more about the transformation of Tobago's landscape. Tune in live on Tobago Updates Television.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported. Good morning, morning. Put a smile on your
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, buljoil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meats served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules, or if you are having a cooking day off.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Now, I have been having a quite interesting and hearty conversation with Senator Ansel Dennis, who is also the political leader of the Tobago PNM Council. And this morning we chatted a bit about that PNM screening, where we see the two PNM representatives that are already in the Parliament, the Honorable Shampa Kajol-Lewis, as well as the Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy, are returning as the two prospective candidates for the PNM in Tobago East and West. And Senator Ansel Dennis has let us know that the PNM Tobago strongly supports the government's move towards the state of emergency. Now, there was a retreat happening in Tobago, I believe, for 4 days. Was it 4?
Started yesterday, it ends today.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it was 4 days. So it was just 2 days. But we heard something come out over the weekend in regards to the Prime Minister being very clear this time around on the fact that he would not be returning post the next general election. I don't know if there's jubilation in the PNM or if there's sadness in the party at this time. How is that, from the party perspective, having the leader who has taken you through the last two victories departing office right before a big election?
Well, it's a bit sad for most of us in the PNM because Dr. Oli has been along for a long time. 45 years is a long time devoting yourself to public life and public service, which as you know is not an easy place to be. He assumed the role of Prime Minister, having served in various cabinet portfolios before 2015. He became our Prime Minister in 2015 and led us through a difficult period. We've had a pandemic, we've had economic challenges. Of course, our economy is highly dependent on the energy sector, which, as we know, is a very volatile sector. Things tend to go up and down. And interestingly, during that period, most of the time it was down, right? If you check the history, you'll realize that the energy prices was somewhat depressed during that period. But notwithstanding that, I think Tobago especially benefited significantly. The country as a whole benefited in a major way as well. In addition to that, we've had a situation where even during the pandemic, I think his leadership and his experience, sometimes we tend to bash people when they reach a certain age and tell them it's time to step out of the limelight and give young people a chance. I'm all for giving young people a chance, but you see this thing called experience. It is highly valuable, especially in times of crisis. And I saw where his experience and his wisdom as a Tobago man who went to Bishop's High School and who had, that Tobago upbringing, his wisdom was brought to bear during that pandemic, where Trinidad and Tobago was one of those countries that managed the situation in an exemplary manner, where we were able to minimize loss of life, where we were able to minimize economic shocks. Just imagine while other Caribbean countries were making adjustments in their public sector employment, laying off people, in Trinidad and Tobago during the pandemic, and even up to now, through all the difficulty we've been through, no public servant has lost their job. And therefore the situation was managed well. And I think Dr. Rowley deserves a salute. He deserves to be commended for his contributions, not only to the PNM, but to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We are now in a period of transition, because once the leader signals that he is going to step aside, and I want to say the manner in which it was done is in fact magnanimous. And the reason I say this is because for the first time, not only in the history of the PNM, but in the history of the politics of Trinidad and Tobago at that level, somebody stepping aside when they don't necessarily have to step aside. We've had people coming out of the office of Prime Minister by death. Unfortunately, Dr. Eric Williams, the founder of the PNM, died in office. We've had people leaving office because they were voted out. They lost an election and then the party decided, well, you have to go as political leader. But for the first time, we're having a very interesting development where a Prime Minister who won 2 elections and who continues to lead this country on a path towards progress and development has decided that it is time for me to step aside and allow a transition to take place so that a new leader can emerge. And I think that demands the greatest level of commendations.
Well, the thing that a lot of persons want to know, particularly nationally, who is going to succeed Dr. Rowley? There are speculations that it might be Stuart Young, who kind of posits himself as being the Prime Minister's right-hand man right now. There are conversations, and you hear little murmurings in the society, but you also hear through the grapevine that it might be Colin Imbert. But then there's Penelope Beckles, who a lot of persons felt like for a long time was positioned in regards to her experience, her likability on all fronts, and, her being a woman, bringing something different to the PNM in another general election. So, but personally for you, what can you say to us? What is the feeling like within the party of who might be coming next, or who has put themselves up
it is an exciting time. Some people are worried about the period and the change and all of that, and who will replace Dr. Rowley, because Dr. Rowley brought a certain level of stature.
Or are they looking for another Tobagonian to succeed?
You never know.
Are you willing to go and do the work yourself?
Not interested. I could tell you who is not interested, and that is Ansel Dennis, right? But the good thing about it, and again, this is another trait about Dr. Rowley that I respect and admire, is that his intention, because he said this publicly, was to leave after one term, right? He has never demonstrated any traits to suggest that he's hungry for power, or that he's about self, or that he's about party. He was always concerned with the country's interests, and therefore his intention initially was to serve one term and allow somebody else to emerge. Unfortunately, in 2020, we were in a pandemic. The young people in the cabinet were not only were they not as experienced as him, but they were quite inexperienced, having served just one term in government. So he decided that, look, we're in a pandemic. The team that I have here are still pretty much, most of them are young, there's 5 years experience in government, etc. And therefore he felt that that was not the appropriate time. And therefore he stayed another term, but he did indicate publicly that this term would have been his last term. And therefore, over that time, a number of young cabinet members were mentored, they were coached, I'm sure, they were advised, they were able to benefit from his experience, they were able to grow, and they were able to develop. And therefore, not only do we have a situation where you have people there who can responsibly manage the country as a cabinet going forward, but there are some of them there as well who will be quite capable based on the experience that they have benefited from over the last 9 years and beyond. They are quite capable individuals who can continue to lead the country and to lead the party coming out of this transitionary period. So I do not know at this point in time who will emerge, but I can tell you that whoever emerges based on what is available, based on the available pool, will be far superior to Kamla Persad-Visesa and anybody else that could be put forward by any other political party for leadership of this country. And I can give that assurance to the people of Trinidad and Tobago without fear of any contradiction.
And how do you respond to the comments of the Chief Secretary as he commented on the legacy of Dr. Rowley as he demits office, being one centered around the fact that even as a Tobagonian, he still was unable to deliver that Tobago autonomy to Tobago?
Well, the commentary of the Chief Secretary can be described as one, foolish, and secondly, just political. Right? He does not know how to be magnanimous. He does not know how to be gracious, and that is unfortunate, because you will expect that as a leader, you should at least know what time it is. Now, I'm not even going to waste time comparing the legacy of the two men, because I think it is one is Asia and one is Little Tobago, the continent of Asia. So I will not even try to make any comparisons. Dr. Rowley's record in public life speaks for itself, and Farley's record, though it has been a short period, speaks for itself as well in totally opposite ways. So I will not waste time to compare, more than to say that Dr. Rowley has distinguished himself as a sincere, honest, decent, respectable, and capable public servant of the people over the last 45 years, especially in his last 9 years as Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
And are you hoping that even with someone having to succeed Dr. Rowley and an internal election being needed within the PNM, that this is going to be done in an amicable way that does not disrupt the party's functioning before a major election? Because we know internal elections tend to fracture party relationships.
Yes. And we have that experience in the PNM. And as a responsible organization, as a disciplined organization, of course, we have our structure, and we are going to operate responsibly. That is the most I will say at this point. We are going to operate responsibly, placing the interests of the country first, followed way behind by the interests of the party, and followed even further behind by personal ambition and personal interests. That is how we will operate during this period. It's an exciting period, right? Whenever there is change, it is something that should be embraced. And at this point in time, we are going to ensure that we will operate in a way that will honor the legacy of Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley.
And even as we wrap up our discussions this morning, how are you feeling personally moving forward into a general election where you have to lead the Tobago PNM Council? You have two representatives, the representative for Tobago East, Tobago West. After having lost a major THA election, how are you posturing yourself to lead the team?
Well, I am quite confident. I'm confident in my ability and my judgment and the little experience that I have as a leader. I mean, I'm still young in politics, but I have the support. What's up? You good? But I have the support and the advice of very experienced and respectable persons who still make themselves available to me and the People's National Movement. So I embrace the future with hope, with excitement, with expectation that whatever is done in this year will redound to the benefit of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and specifically to the people of Tobago when we get to our Tobago House of Assembly election. I am very confident that the people of Tobago will make the right choice on both occasions.
Understood. Well, again, we want to thank you so much for taking the time out to come here on Tobago Updates on Good Morning Tobago and spend some time with us, specifically after you have chosen your two candidates for the upcoming general election. And we look forward to hearing much more from you and your team, and hopefully from the candidates soon as they prepare to go into that elections. That, I mean, as I said previously on this show, we are already in election season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that feeling right before the bell rings, like you know the bell is about to ring, so you already start getting antsy, you already start looking at the clock, and the teacher already knows that she no longer has the attention of the students because it's almost time.
Wrong, indeed.
Right. So we are in that season, and you know, a lot of people call it silly season because a lot of negativity comes out during that time. So how do you want to encourage the Tobagonians, you know, the members of your party, as well as persons who may oppose your views to, you know, carry about themselves during this time?
Well, it will be foolish of us to expect that the political campaign will be conducted like church, right? That is not our culture. It is not the reality of the situation. But I will still encourage people to try to be as civil as possible and respectable, because at the end of the day, all of us have to live in this Tobago. Unfortunately, I think the last 3 years has been mad. The last 3 years of governance, that is, has been marred by a lot of vindictiveness, by a lot of political persecution that has resulted in Tobago's overall interests suffering. I operate on the premise that, look, all of us are Tobagonians, and therefore it does not make sense that even if you win an election, that you get into office and you bust everybody through that is PNM, or you sideline every business person that did business under the PNM. All you are going to do is damage Tobago, and that is exactly what has been done. Everybody that born in Tobago, whether you support the TPP, the PNM, or whichever political organization you choose to support, you have a right to exist in Tobago. You have a right to access every single opportunity available to all Tobagonians, notwithstanding your political affiliations. And I will hope that we will conduct ourselves, even during the silly season, that we will not do too many silly things, and that at the end of the day, we will be responsible enough as the electorate to separate facts from fiction. And I want to say this. Anybody could mount a political platform and say anything, but it is what can be supported by facts. And I want to say that on the PNM's side of the campaign, any allegation that we will make, because we will be making several allegations on the conduct of this administration and some of the individuals. And I want to say to the people of Tobago that every allegation will be supported by facts, whether in the form of documents, pictures, or whatever. We will not be making spurious allegations. We will be coming with the facts to support it. And the people of Tobago must decide how are they going to receive the information. And I'm suggesting that they should only accept things that can be supported by facts.
All right. We want to thank you again so much for being here this morning, guys. We want to thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Chanel Felix, and have a great day. Thank you.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy